Hello. Today's book is Tripping on Utopia, Margaret Mead, The Cold War, and the Troubled Birth of Psychedelic Science by Benjamin Breen. So, what have we here? We have a brand new book, by the way. I went to my holds at the library and I saw the book and I said, "Oh, what's this?" I forgot that I'd put a hold on it and forgot where I came upon the book. I must have been reading an article somewhere about it or something. And when I do that, I just go on my computer and go to New York Public Library. And if they have the book, I put it on hold. And turns out they delivered this book January, and I got it right at the end of January, I guess, or just this month. It is, it's about Margaret Mead. Actually, it's a little more about Gregory Bateson than it is about Margaret Mead. Margaret Mead and Gregory Bateson were married way back in the 20s, I believe, and Gregory Bateson was a British man, and they were both anthropologists, and they were studying people in Samoa or New Guinea, one of these places, and they got together. Their relationship did not last. They had a girl child, though, somewhere along that line. And the girl child actually has written a book about her two parents that I have not read, but I read this one. So what goes on is it's about these people, and it's about psychedelics, about what happened with psychedelics in this clash of the utopias, I would call it. The people who wanted the anthropologists, the Mead and Bateson, who knew that they had these substances, knew people had these substances. Mead had studied peyote, American Indian cultures, so forth, and they saw, being anthropologists, they saw how these things were were integral part of the culture in which they existed. They were used ritually with a certain point of doing something, of a young man or a boy growing into manhood. That kind of ritual stuff that has fallen away in modern culture. So when a lot of things just really got screwed up by World War II. World War II was just a disaster, and the rippling waves of disaster following it that still go on to today are quite disturbing, actually. And what went on with that is that World War II broke out. More psychedelics were discovered. Albert Hofmann discovered LSD, the psychic effects of LSD, when he was messing with all these chemicals, famous Bicycle Day, so forth. During the war, there was this big war machine built up with the military, the actual weapons and so forth, but there was a vast intelligence system going on as well with the OSS. What does the OSS stands for? Office of Strategic Services or something like that. Anyway, the OSS that evolved into the CIA. So scientists are often brought in to assist in these intelligence operations. You know, people who know about psychology and so forth, like the guys who assisted the CIA with the torture during the Iraq War, taught them how to torture, waterboard, and so forth, and psychologists, I guess, and those are the type of people that are brought in, and then the rest of the people of the field are going like, well, what are you doing? Why are you messing with these people, these warriors, basically, who are going to hurt people with this information? So, okay, there's this big Allied war effort to defeat the Nazis, and the psychological war is part of the way that we do battle. So the CIA is looking for mind control devices, ways to manipulate vast amounts of people or individuals to have them turn from one side to another, like individual spies, have them become counter spies, you know, that kind of thing. So Bateson and Mead, to a certain extent, were participating in this thing for a while, and ended up Bateson was, you know, kind of both of them kind of like wanted to distance themselves from all this later. It didn't come out until 1975, I think, what exactly had been going on with the CIA and the MKultra program. And, you know, all this material was finally released and the rest of it was destroyed, so we'll never know. But they knew a lot of these and were associated with a lot of these people, Harold Abramson, Gottlieb, you know, these names that we've learned, George White, who was, you know, kind of a weird figure, kind of thuggish. He's the guy who set up these safe houses, apartments. There was one in Greenwich Village, and then they had one in San Francisco, where they would bring people in, you know, lure them in, well, men, lure them in with prostitutes or whatever, dose them with LSD, watch them or record them from, you know, another part of the apartment through two-way mirrors and so forth. One-way mirror? A mirror that you can only look out of, and you only see a reflection when you see it from the other side. So, so yeah, they knew these kind of people, and so there's a lot of discussion about MKultra and in relation to the scientists, you know, people who are trying to have a clean career and not be tainted with all this government stuff. So Bateson, Margaret Mead, it seems like she's kind of she kind of gets this lofty position of you know, she's the most famous anthropologist for many years. And she has a job at the Museum of Natural History and an office there where she has that office for decades. And so she's kind of secure in that, where Bateson is floating from this thing to that thing to this thing to that thing. So Bateson goes off at one point and works with John Lilly. Oh, this is later in the story. I'm sort of jumping ahead. What I mean is the clash of the utopias is that, you know, I guess I'm adjusting my opinion of these people, the MKultra CIA type people, as being not sinister in themselves. They don't think of themselves as bad. They think of themselves as well, trying to set up utopia, their type of utopia, which means United States hegemony, and we're running everything, and we're secure, and our business is going around the world, and we're making money, and we're spreading the American way, and all that kind of thing, where the scientists, the other psychedelic researchers, there's a lot of research going on in psychedelics in the 50s. Funded by the CIA or not funded by the CIA, but all came crashing down ultimately when figures like Leary, Timothy Leary, enter the picture, and from this book and what Bateson and Mead primarily think of Leary, and what I guess this writer does too, is that Leary kind of screwed up the whole scene and brought the whole thing down, and by being kind of over, by being egotistical, really, by wanting to have attention for himself, kind of getting into this messianic kind of mindset, and becoming too popular, and scaring people, and that LSD is going to trash the government, it's going to bring all these radicals in, it's going to do all this other stuff, and anybody you can just take it, and there's no risk, and this section of the book is referred to as the noise. And he refers to it as the noise because he talks previously, and I think he didn't describe this enough, about Margaret Mead going back to New Guinea and finding something called the noise. A cargo culture, I think, is also another name for it. So this is all kind of sketchy with me, so I'm kind of winging it here. But the way I understand the noise is that it was the sort of traditional culture who had confronted colonialism and manufactured goods that came from colonialism, and they didn't understand that things are manufactured in factories with these actual they weren't spiritual magical things, whereas they seemed to be that, like a radio seemed to be something like that to people who were living in a more basic, primitive kind of way, and didn't really have much confrontation with this. So that's kind of what the noise was, I guess. But the noise in the chapter in the book is the popularization of the psychedelics, LSD, in the hippie movement, and all that stuff that went on, that ended up making it illegal federally. Through much of the 60s, LSD was illegal, and that came, and all these researchers could go on legally, and all that came crashing down with Leary and with the extreme popularization, and with so many people taking LSD, including me. My first LSD experience was, I was 18 years old, and it was in April of 1970, so it's a long time ago, and it was very powerful stuff that I think it was made by Sand and Scully. Anyway, it was very good, and I really liked it, and everybody, a lot of people really like it. So, the CIA guys were all dosing each other, So the thing is that, and themselves. So that's the thing with something like this, is so new and so novel and so fantastic, that people, want to experience for themselves. They don't know exactly what it's all about, and some of them get a bit lost, I guess. So yeah, there's a section where Bateson goes off to work with John Lilly in Florida with the dolphins. And another side thing is that Sea Hunt, the TV show Sea Hunt with Lloyd Bridges, which was a 50s half-hour adventure where Lloyd Bridges plays this diver guy, and Flipper were both produced by Ivan Tors, who was a tripper, who was somebody who was into the LSD thing, as well as his wife. So that was an interesting aside, and kind of connected to John Lilly and his experiments with dolphins, trying to communicate with dolphins, which, according to this book, ultimately alienated Bateson, because he was injecting LSD into the dolphins, and the dolphins weren't being treated properly. They were all dying young or suiciding, not eating, stuff like that. So a much darker picture of John Lilly and his work is presented in this book. I always thought it was, kind of positive, aside from what the Day of the Dolphin movie was. Was that a Mike Nichols movie? Yeah, there's this movie, The Day of the Dolphins, where George C. Scott plays a scientist who was confronted by, I don't remember it very well, but it's been 50 years since I saw it. Anyway, it was about how the military wanted to use the dolphins to carry missiles or whatever, to carry, be like torpedoes to blow up ships, stuff like other military purposes. So, but so Lilly comes out badly, and then Lilly writes another book, Center of the Cyclone, and it talks about somebody reading that book and going like, it doesn't make sense. So Lilly is presented basically as kind of an acid casualty in this book, and as Timothy Leary was this really troubling figure that ended up ratting out people, when he got arrested and all this stuff that went on. Anyway, that's a long story that I'm not going to get into right now, right here. So, Tripping on Utopia is an interesting book for people who are interested in this kind of stuff. There are illustrations, instead of having the whole section of glossy pictures in the middle, it has, which sometimes are in color when they do the glossy thing. There's lots of pictures throughout, printed in black and white, because that's all you can do with, when you're printing the pictures right into the text of the book. So it's another interesting addition to the story of LSD and the government, and the continually evolving story of LSD and what we're going to do with it and what we're trying to do with it. There's lots of LSD therapy going on now. It's returning, and that's why a book like this is out, because people have a renewed interest as this wave comes back. 40 years later, 60 years later, 70 years later, a long time. I'm getting so, my timeline is getting so long, I don't even remember how long things were in the previous decades. Allen Ginsberg's in it quite a bit. Allen Ginsberg presents an interesting figure in the book of somebody who's, conscious of the CIA thing, and ultimately wonders if the whole thing was just a CIA production. And so, of course, I wonder myself, did the CIA intend for me to take LSD and intend for me to be manipulated by the LSD I took and become the person you see today, who was kind of not all that motivated. I kind of do this, I do my little job, but I haven't really had a very successful life. Probably not because of LSD, probably because of my background otherwise, and I would have blown it otherwise if it wasn't for LSD. I didn't really drink very much, but I'm kind of a weed head still, which is a problem, and it makes it hard for me to actually review these books because I'm a little foggy all the time because of my bad habits. But so that's why I'm maybe a less than adequate book reviewer. But, I'm making you aware of this book. So, Tripping on Utopia by Benjamin Breen, for anybody who is interested in anthropology, anthropology, who's interested in that kind of stuff, who's interested in LSD, who's interested in the war machine and how it went haywire, and it's quite a story. And this is part of the story. Of course, there's other books that tell the same story. Acid Dreams was the first book I read about MKultra by Martin Lee, which, came out in the 80s, I think. And it was quite good. So, there's all these things that fit into the information that all goes into how we got here, how I got to be who I am, the different waves of information and drugs and ideas that affected my brain. And that's why I talk about these things and why I talk about the books I talk about, because I'm trying to figure out why I am the way I am, why the country is the way it is. It's clear to me that the World War II was a horrible thing, and it was not and it was good that the U.S. and the Soviet Union won it, but ultimately I think the USA has just gone haywire since then, and the wrong people, the warriors, have been basically in charge, and the CIA ever since. So especially since Kennedy was assassinated. So yeah. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see what comes up next time.